All right, this is chapter 6, the muscular system. Some rules that go with skeletal muscle activity. So, number one, with few exceptions, all muscles cross at least one joint. Number two, the bulk of a skeletal muscle lies proximal to the joint or closer to the joint that's crossed. Number three, all skeletal muscles have at least two attachments, the origin and insertion. We'll get to that here in a minute. Number four, skeletal muscles can only pull, they never push. And then number five, during contraction, a skeletal muscle insertion moves towards the origin always. So just some golden rules of like how your muscles work. Some types of body movement. So muscles are attached to no more than 2 points. They call these the origin and insertion. So what an origin is, it's an attachment to a bone that doesn't move, or it's less movable. And then insertion means it's an attachment to a movable bone. And then when the muscle contracts, the insertion moves toward the origin. And the body movement occurs when muscles contract across joints. The picture will help display this a lot better. Um, Two things I want to point out here. This is just an example of an arm, but this would be the origin of the muscle. And remember, like the origin is the attachment to an immovable or less movable bone. So this bone would be our less movable one. And then the insertion right here would be the attachment to a movable bone. And this is it's just showing the muscle contracting and everything. So that's what the origin and insertion, when you see that listed, that's what that means. I'm going to skip this one. Interactions of the muscles in the body. So some different terms. A prime mover is a muscle with the majority of the responsibility for a certain movement. And there should be some examples on the next couple slides, I think. Antagonist is a muscle that opposes or reverses a prime mover. Synergist is a muscle that aids a prime mover in its movement. And then a fixator is a special synergist that holds a bone still or stabilizes. So just some more terms there to know with interactions of muscles in the body. Here is an example of a muscle that's crossing to produce a flexion. So here's an example of a flexion. An example as far as like muscles would be the pectoralis major, the anterior view. A muscle that crosses on the posterior side would produce what's called an extension. So on the back side, an example would be the latissimus dorsi in your back. Something called abduction. This is a muscle that crosses the lateral side of a joint. So an example would be the deltoid, your shoulder. And then I don't know why that's listed like way down like that. A muscle that crosses the medial side of a joint. So an adduction would be this example. The font's kind of messed up there, so just ignore that one. And then the way that muscles are named, there are reasons why and everything. They could be by direction of the muscle fibers. So one example could be you'll see rectus being named, and that means straight, or by relative size of the muscle. So an example would be maximus, that means largest. And then another example would be like location. So the temporalis in your temporal bone, or on your temporal bone. That's where that name came from. And then by number of origins, an example of that would be triceps because it has three heads to the muscle. So tri means three. And then just some more examples here, like location of the muscle's origin and insertion. So sterno, you'll see named, it's on the sternum, so that's where that name came from. By the shape of the muscle, deltoid, that means triangular, and it's triangular shape. And then by action of the muscle, it could be named by flexor or extensor, flexes or extend the bone. Okay, some types of muscles you'll see circular. The example for that is around your mouth, the orbicularis oris. Convergent is a type. The pectoralis major, so B, that's what that's showing, like the shape of it. C, the fusiform, so the biceps brachii. Um, you'll see that's the type of muscle that it is. D, a parallel muscle. Sartorius would be an example. They're showing that in the leg there. E, the multipinnate. This is the deltoid muscle, your shoulder. And then F, the bipinnate, the rectus femoris. So that's in your leg. And then the unipinnate, this is in your leg as well. The extensor digitorum longus. So those are some different types of muscles. All right, the next two tables, it's table 6.3 in your book. You guys will have a test over these on test week. I'll let you know when that is. But what you will do is have it'll be like a matching section where the names of the muscles are here. And then what you will have to do is match them to their action, like what they do, and the origin. And I'll go over this again with you and give you a table for all of this. But all the information is located in table 6.3. And it has all the primary actions, like where the origin is and where the insertion is. Remember, origin, that's what the attachment to an immovable or less movable bone. And then the insertion is where it attaches to the movable bone. Okay, some terms with the upper part of the body. So your first set of quizzes, you'll have 3 sets. Your first set will be the head, neck, and shoulder. So I'll just go through like the names of these right now, just so you know like what they sound like and everything. So the frontalis would be right here in front of your frontal bone. Orbicularis oculi is around your eye. The zygomaticus, this is kind of like in your cheek area. All of these would be the zygomaticus, these two. The buccinator is how you say that, would be right here. The orbicularis oris is around your mouth. Platysma is in your neck area. Trapezius is kind of in the back of your neck. The sternocleidomastoid, that's a long word. It's right here. The masseter would be located with these two muscles here. Occipitalis is in the back of your head. Temporalis is here. And then the cranial aponeurosis is up here. And I don't think I even have you do that one on the quiz, but I'll give you guys the charts. Okay, here's some more of the table 6.3. And that is for the arm, I believe. The head, neck, and shoulder. Or head, neck, and trunk, I think I want you to know. I'll just go through these though. The clavicle, that's just showing where the clavicle is. The deltoid, that's your shoulder. This is just showing where the sternum is. Pectoralis major is the chest. Biceps brachii. The brachialis is kind of on both sides of that. And then the brachioradialis is here, like in your forearm area. The pectoralis major, again, is right there. The rectus abdominis is here, stomach region. The transverse abdominis is here. Internal oblique. So you have different layers of muscles in your abdomen. External oblique. The aponeurosis is down here. It's just showing that as well down there. Again, more of the table. This is the hip, thigh, and leg. If you look at the tables, arm and forearm, they're specified. Okay, part of the leg. This is just showing your 12th rib and everything. So it's kind of like working its way down. The iliopsoas has a couple different muscles in there, but both of these would be the iliopsoas. The anterior superior iliac spine is just showing where that is. You won't be tested over the bones anymore. Sartorius is this muscle that kind of goes down sideways in a way. Adductor groups are here, kind of like the inner leg there. Quadriceps, you have 3 different muscles in this category. You have vastus medialis, kind of like right above the knee on the inside. The vastus lateralis would be on the outside of the leg here. And then the rectus femoris is right down the center going to your knee. This is just showing those as well, just kind of like a little bit closer. In the lower leg, you have the fibularis longus, which would be the outside here. The fibularis brevis would be right here. The tibialis anterior on the side of the tibia. Soleus would be on the inside of the tibia. The extensor digitorum longus would be going all the way down like to your toes here. And the fibularis tertius. So there's kind of some crazy names on here, but just remember kind of like the names and where they are and stuff like that. That'd help a lot. And I'll go through the rest of these on another recording. My children are calling for me.